Mountain men faced dangers far beyond the romanticized image. More succumbed to simple infections like blisters than to fearsome predators. This challenges the notion of their invincibility and highlights the brutal reality of true survival, a reality largely forgotten today. While the wilderness remains unforgiving, modern society has grown soft. The slightest error could, and still can, prove fatal. Let's explore some crucial skills that ensured mountain men's survival in the face of extreme hardship. Number 7. Firearms. In the 19th century frontier, a firearm was far more than a tool. It was essential for survival. Proficiency was non-negotiable. Accurate shooting, rapid reloading, clearing malfunctions, and meticulous maintenance were vital. Hunting provided sustenance, while the gun offered protection against bears, other wildlife, or hostile individuals in a lawless environment. Self-reliance was paramount. The rifle of choice for many was the Hawken, a legendary weapon crafted in St. Louis by Jacob and Samuel Hawken. These 50 or 55 caliber muzzleloaders were substantial, durable, and capable of taking down large game like bison, elk, and bear. Unlike lighter Eastern rifles, the Hawken delivered significant stopping power and withstood harsh conditions. However, black powder firearms demanded constant attention. Each shot typically required cleaning afterward to prevent misfires or dangerous barrel issues. Reloading was a complex, urgent process in the cold, involving powder, patch, and ball, allowing no room for error. While not every person on the frontier carried a gun, competence with one was widespread, much like essential skills such as fire starting or wound care. Accidents were an unfortunate reality without formal safety training. Today, firearms retain their role as tools for sustenance and protection, serving as a potential last defense in remote or dangerous areas. For those spending significant time in true wilderness, beyond casual camping, understanding firearm use remains a valuable survival skill. Regardless of whether the weapon is modern or traditional, the fundamental reasons, food and security, persist, especially in off-grid living. Mountain men quickly learned that smaller calibers were inadequate for the western frontier, favoring larger, more robust firearms that performed reliably when needed most. This principle holds true today. In crises or remote settings where assistance is unavailable, a firearm can be critical for survival, provided one is skilled in its use. Neglect turns it from an asset into a liability. The demanding nature of the old ways, with scarce, hand-packed ammunition, instilled a crucial mindset. Know your weapon, practice diligently, and use every shot judiciously. Understanding bullet trajectory and knowing when not to shoot are equally vital aspects of this mental discipline. And what else is indispensable for survival in the wilderness? Warmth. Fire has always been synonymous with life or death in the wild. Mountain men lacked modern lighters, relying instead on flint, steel, and found materials. Figures like Jim Bridger and Jedediah Smith carried dedicated kits, using flint and steel to spark tinder like charcloth or dry fungus. If these methods failed, they resorted to laborious bow drills. Facing freezing temperatures in the Rockies made this difficult work a necessity. Tinder selection was deliberate. They sought out materials like birch bark, cattail fluff, and dry pine needles known to ignite even when damp, often preparing and packing them beforehand. This approach mirrors modern fire kits. Fire provided essential warmth, enabled cooking, purified water, and offered protection. It also served as a vital signal when help was distant. Today, lighters fail and matches get wet. A recent example from 2121 saw a Montana hiker survive by starting a fire using quartz and a knife. FEMA identifies fire starting as a paramount survival skill, noting that most emergencies require heat or signaling within 48 hours. Survival schools continue to emphasize traditional methods like tinder bundles from cedar bark, fat wood, or birch. While apps can offer guidance, hands-on practice, though slower, is reliable and effective in real-world scenarios. We emphasize minimal impact today, using designated fire rings, avoiding live trees. Mountain men lacked this luxury, but we possess the awareness. We carry portable fire pits, utilize fallen timber, and dig Dakota holes to keep fires concealed and reduce environmental damage. Yet, fire's fundamental power to soothe and focus remains. Tending a flame demands concentration and grounds you. A 2020 study confirmed this calming effect, showing that firemaking reduces stress and provides a sense of control, just as it offered solace in a blizzard centuries ago. Modern tools enhance the process. Ferro rods, for instance, produce intense sparks even with substandard tinder, a reason they are standard gear for backpackers and soldiers. Success still depends on knowing how to effectively use your tools, and a critical survival truth endures. The lighter you are, the longer you can last. Number 5. Lightweight mountain men were compelled to travel light. Every excess pound was a hindrance. Most carried 30 lbs or less. Just a rifle, powder, knife, hatchet, some traps, perhaps a blanket, and a fire kit. There were no non-essentials, only what was needed to hunt, eat, stay warm, and remain mobile. The frontier was unforgiving terrain, dense forests, icy rivers, treacherous mountain passes. Slowness was a death sentence. Against predators, harsh weather, and potential threats, speed was your primary defense. Weight extinguished that advantage. Mountain men moved on foot or horseback, and lighter loads meant fewer injuries, less exhaustion, improved focus, and the ability to travel without reliance on pack animals or assistance. They moved efficiently. John Coulter exemplified this. After the Lewis and Clark expedition, he remained in the West, living with and learning from the Crow people. He adopted their method of travel, light, fast, and self-sufficient. From late 1807 into spring 1808, Coulter traversed nearly 1,000 miles alone through challenging winter landscapes, carrying merely 30 lbs. This experience starkly demonstrated true necessities. The Crow taught him year-round wilderness sustenance. What wasn't carried had to be made or done without. Clothing often served multiple purposes. Everything was multifunctional. Coulter's story is a powerful lesson, yet many today still err by overpacking for comfort. This excess weight slows them, impairs judgment, and increases the risk of injury. Modern survival echoes this fundamental principle. Carry less. More gear doesn't necessarily equate to better readiness. Knowledge is weightless. If you possess the skills to build shelter, make fire, or utilize natural resources, you don't need to transport everything. You avoid dependence on items that can fail, batteries, fuel, or complex equipment. In emergencies, wildfire, flood, or conflict zones, speed is paramount. Mobility saves lives. Heavy packs impede it. A lighter load translates to quicker decisions, sustained energy, and improved odds. Ultra-light backpackers understand this, optimizing every item, minimalist shelters, simple cooking systems, multi-use gear, just enough food. It's straightforward math. Less weight equals greater range and capability. Survival courses and military training mirror this philosophy, emphasizing essentials over extensive gear. The focus is on discovering what truly works. You learn to adapt, improvise, and maintain momentum. Your mind becomes clearer, free from the burden of excessive equipment. You rely on skill over possessions, a clarity that can be life-saving. And once you're moving efficiently, it's time to observe closely. It's time to read the land. Number 4. Tracking and wildlife knowledge. For solitary mountain men like Jim Bridger or Jedediah Smith, success or failure hinged on their ability to interpret the natural world. Without GPS or modern devices, they navigated vast, demanding territories filled with predators and the constant need for food. Tracking revealed the location of game, the presence of danger, and the freshness of a trail. The ground, the vegetation, the air, all conveyed information if you knew how to decipher it. Mountain men meticulously studied tracks. Elk left large, blunt prints, toes splayed in soft earth. Mule deer prints were smaller, heart-shaped with a pointed front. Moose tracks were unmistakable, massive, blunt, 5 to 7 inches long. Predator tracks differed. Wolves and coyotes typically showed claw marks, while cougars and lynx left smooth, oval prints without claws visible. Bear tracks were distinctive, wide paws with long, curved claws, and hindprints resembling oversized human feet. Beyond shape, movement patterns were key. A walking deer left tracks roughly 2 feet apart, running 6 to 8 feet. Grazing tracks were clustered. Mud offered clarity, while snow distorted details. No single print told the whole story. One looked for patterns. When tracks were insufficient, they looked for signs above ground. Broken branches indicated who had fed there and at what height. Deer browsed low, 3-4 feet, moose higher, bears snapped branches to reach fruit. Green breaks suggested recent activity. Antler rubs on trees, often with hair snagged in the bark, red for mule deer, black-tipped for bear, helped identify animals. Scat provided further clues. Herbivores left dry pellets, while predators produced twisted droppings containing fur or bone fragments. The experienced eye synthesized these details into a larger picture. Game trails were often subtle, narrow, faint paths through pressed grass with bent stems and muddy patches, but they reliably led to water sources or ridges. Water crossings were critical, marked by hoof cuts in banks or beaver slides. When tracking, the focus wasn't solely on following footprints. A systematic approach was needed. First, anchor yourself by selecting a landmark to avoid losing your orientation. Second, trace the path, not necessarily every single print. Third, confirm by looking for corroborating signs nearby. A snapped twig, scat, another print near a rub, to gauge the trail's freshness. Crucially, always assess the wind. Though unseen, it dictates everything. Animals can scent you, and walking with the wind in your face risks alerting them or blundering into danger. Old-timers consistently stayed downwind. They read wind direction using grass, leaves, or smoke. Once the direction was determined, they didn't follow the trail directly, but zigzagged or flanked it, allowing their scent to disperse away from the animal. Masking scent was also practiced, using pine needles, mud, or simply staying out of direct air currents. Strong smells, even from food, were avoided. Wind behavior varied with terrain. In valleys, air rose in the morning and fell at night. Early thermals carried scent upwards, which could be advantageous if trailing uphill, but a wind shift required stopping and adjusting course immediately. Once an animal caught your scent, the opportunity was likely lost. Mountain men weren't merely lucky, they were intensely observant. They perceived the land's language, every sign, every shift in the breeze, and moved in harmony with it. This heightened awareness stemmed from a deliberate slowing down and paying attention. When modern tools fail, this fundamental ability remains. Interpreting a print, feeling the wind, recognizing a faint game trail to water. Spotting cougar tracks, clean, clawless, 3 inches across, means stopping, listening, and reading the environment without a screen. This is raw survival, less guessing, more seeing. Today we have GPS, digital maps, and trail cameras, but these fail when signals drop or batteries die. Tracking endures because it relies on awareness, not power. Hunters still use it for ethical kills. Biologists track signs to study wildlife like wolves and cougars, especially in areas like Yellowstone. Wildlife photographers depend on it, quiet observation and knowing where animals will be. Search and rescue operations often rely on these same subtle cues, a print, bent grass, a broken twig, to locate someone. It's what mountain men used, and it remains effective. Moreover, tracking cultivates a self-reliance technology cannot provide. GPS won't spot high ant mounds before rain or a fading wolf track, but your trained eye might. As you learn, you perceive patterns in migration, the silences in the forest. This awareness integrates you into the environment, rather than leaving you a mere visitor. Some institutions still teach these skills. The Boulder Outdoor Survival School in Utah has offered long-form tracking since 1968. Modern apps like ITRA Wildlife can log signs, blending new tech with ancient skills. But ultimately, success hinges on you, the ground, and what your senses perceive. That is the core skill, the true edge. While reading the wilderness is challenging, surviving your own mind is often far more difficult. Number 3, mental resilience. Beyond battling cold, hunger, and the myriad physical threats of the wilderness, mountain men waged a constant internal struggle. The profound silence and isolation of the wild cared nothing for outward toughness, only for the ability to endure when conditions turned dire. Mental resilience was not a secondary trait, but essential for survival. It was what sustained them through storms, food shortages, and the unsettling feeling of being watched at night. If the mind fractured, the body soon followed. Individuals like Jim Bridger and Jedediah Smith spent weeks, sometimes months, in solitude. Their only companions were the wind and perhaps the distant call of wolves. Such prolonged quiet can be profoundly disorienting, warping time, eroding purpose, and dulling focus. Modern science studies these effects, but these frontier figures simply lived them. They didn't fight the loneliness. They accepted it as part of their reality. They didn't expend energy trying to feel better. Their focus was solely on staying dry, fed, and vigilant. This fundamental shift from seeking comfort to embracing necessity was their advantage, and it remains so. Resilience enables clear thought when fear strikes. It's about moving through fear, one step at a time. It's not an inborn trait, but is forged through hardship and stress. Research confirms that resilience is built on habits, internal dialogue, and how setbacks are framed, determining whether you react constructively or freeze. Mindfulness, physical conditioning, and grounding techniques all contribute. But at its core, it's about training your mind to adapt rather than break. Mountain men learned this rapidly. Without therapy or modern coping mechanisms, they acknowledged fear but refused to be paralyzed by it. They expected danger as a constant presence, not an anomaly. Broken bones, frostbite, infections, bites. Without hospitals or medicine, panic was fatal. They didn't panic. They viewed pain as a signal demanding action, not a reason to collapse. Fears were permitted, but they were not allowed to take control. Crucially, mountain men had to make swift, unambiguous decisions: where to camp, whether to cross a river now or wait, identifying friend or foe. A single misstep could be deadly. This level of clarity arose from a disciplined mind, not just experience. They filtered out distractions, assessed the immediate situation, and acted decisively. The same principle applies today in combat, crisis situations, or remote wilderness. Hesitation can be fatal. Hunger and exhaustion were constant companions, often leading to days with minimal sustenance. Fatigue clouds judgment and invites recklessness, yet they refused to yield. They managed by breaking down the daunting challenge into immediate, manageable tasks, securing warmth, finding water, building a fire. This intense focus on small objectives kept them sharp, a technique still employed in survival training and psychological therapy today. They also endured profound loss, the deaths of friends, betrayal, the sudden destruction of vital supplies. They cultivated the ability to compartmentalize grief and pain, just enough to function and move forward. This level of emotional discipline is critical, paralleled by the training of modern combat medics and disaster response teams. You cannot break down in the midst of a crisis. That processing happens later, once the immediate threat has passed. Mountain men understood that a fractured mind meant the end. The next critical threat wasn't internal, but descended from above. Number 2. Weather prediction. Mountain men operated without forecasts, radar, or alerts. Their survival hinged on reading the sky, as misinterpreting its signals could be fatal. Hypothermia from sudden cold rain or being swept away by flash floods were real risks. Consequently, they meticulously observed clouds, wind patterns, and animal behavior, every subtle clue. Thin, high cirrus clouds indicated an approaching change. Towering, dark cumulonimbus clouds, those anvil shapes, were an urgent warning to seek immediate shelter, particularly when warm air collided with cold. Seeing one build over a ridge meant swift action was needed. Rocky storms could materialize in minutes. In desert regions during monsoon season, the sight of a flat-topped, dark-bottomed cloud signaled imminent danger and required rapid movement. Hesitation meant risking your life, a mistake people still make. Other cloud formations offered less immediate, but still important, warnings. A mackerel sky with alto-cumulus clouds scattered like fish scales suggested steady rain or snow within a day. Not instantly perilous, but enough to soak gear, make trails impassable, and extinguish fires. Recognizing this sky prompted them to fortify camp and prepare to hunker down. In areas like the Pacific Northwest, this pattern remains a reliable indicator of coming storms. They relied on other natural signs too, like the timeless rhyme, "Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red in the morning, sailor, take warning." A red sunrise signified incoming low pressure, bringing increased wind and moisture, worse weather. In the backcountry, a fiery red sky before dawn meant abandoning any plans for a quick summit attempt. Wind direction was another key indicator. A west wind usually meant stable conditions, but an east wind often signaled dropping pressure. They could sense this pressure change physically, a feeling in their ears or joints, even their skin prickling. It required only time and close observation. Mountain men didn't need a weather app. You still don't if you pay attention. The signs, the sky, are the same. Observing animal behavior was equally vital. Birds, insects, and even livestock react preemptively to approaching storms. Knowing these reactions was crucial. Swallows were a notable sign. As pressure drops, insects fly lower, and swallows follow them. Seeing swallows skimming close to the ground indicated rain was near. This observation is documented in 19th century journals and is still used by paddlers in Minnesota. When the swallows vanish, they head for shore. Geese offered clues about seasonal changes. Early migration suggested a harsh winter was coming. While modern science explains this via hormones, the old-timers needed only the observation to prepare. Ranchers still rely on similar animal signs. Ants also provided warnings. Steep-sided mounds were a sign they were waterproofing against heavy rain. Farmers continue to watch for busy ant activity before preparing fields. Bees returning quickly to the hive in a swarm indicated an imminent storm. Appalachian beekeepers still seal hives based on this behavior. Larger mammals offered the clearest warnings. Deer moving into dense woods or elk descending into valleys were seeking shelter, not acting randomly. Observing this prompted mountain men to do the same. Squirrels frantically burying food also signaled a difficult period ahead. Jim Bridger paid attention to these signs, as did Colorado runners in 2022 who turned back after noticing animal behavior, narrowly avoiding a blizzard hours later. Livestock also react. Goats become agitated. Cows lie down. Ranchers from Wyoming to Argentina trust these instincts. This knowledge remains relevant. Hikers in 2023 who followed deer uphill avoided flash floods that occurred later. The old journals were accurate. Why does this matter today? Because hypothermia can kill rapidly as body temperature drops. Flash floods can turn a dry creek bed into a raging torrent in moments. Reading natural signs also conserves energy. Anticipating bad weather allows you to stop pushing forward and instead find or build secure shelter to wait it out. Wise individuals today combine technology with natural observation. Apps and weather forecasts are helpful, but animals and even indicators like pine cones, which close with increasing moisture, provide ground-level intelligence. While technology is invaluable, if it fails or you lose signal, relying on traditional methods can save your life. And after the deluge, the fall, the fever, what comes next? Then, it's time to address the consequences. Number 1. Wilderness medicine. In the unforgiving wilderness, managing injuries and illness yourself was often the only option. Your own hands and what the land provided were your sole resources. This reality forced mountain men to become adept at treating wounds, sickness, and pain using natural remedies. Without antibiotics or doctors, even minor cuts could become deadly infections leading to fever and critical risk. They relied on empirical knowledge, plants, folk remedies, often learned from native tribes. This was pragmatic medicine, not superstition. Yarrow was indispensable. For cuts, packing the wound with chewed or mashed yarrow helped stop bleeding and fight infection. It was widely available. For pain and fever, willow bark was brewed into a tea. Though bitter, it was effective due to its salicin content, nature's equivalent of aspirin. Plantain was used for bites, stings, and rashes, reducing swelling and preventing infection when crushed and applied. Echinacea was valued for respiratory issues, sore throats, and even snake bites. Their medical practices weren't limited to plants. Stubborn bleeding might be cauterized with a heated blade. Melted pine resin created a sealing bandage, and alcohol was poured directly into wounds despite the agony. These harsh methods often prevented worse outcomes. Branches served as splints, torn fabric as slings. The ability to move was paramount. As previously noted, motion meant survival. Not all injuries occur conveniently near medical facilities. If you're hiking or camping, a storm hits, and your phone dies, external help isn't coming. Your knowledge becomes your only aid. Modern wilderness first aid incorporates these principles, cleaning wounds with available resources, immobilizing sprains, treating burns, recognizing and addressing hypothermia early, and understanding medicinal plants. The core concept is unchanged. Act quickly, use what's available, and prevent the situation from worsening. As the saying goes, the wilderness is indifferent to your survival. The mountain men understood this deeply. They forged their ability to survive through frostbite, starvation, and isolation. Today, we've often traded flint for Wi-Fi, instinct for algorithms. But the fundamental threats remain. Cold still kills. Storms still overwhelm. So ask yourself, when the screens go dark and the infrastructure fails, what skills are left? Not your gear, not your luck. You cannot outsmart the wilderness. The mountain men learned that lesson the hard way.